What's up, YouTube? This is CJ.
And Sarah.
It's a Wednesday, and that means it's time for another Keto
Conversations.
So let's get started. Alright, so first of all, I want to apologize because for some reason I'm sniffling a lot. I'm going to try to not do it while we make this video, but something's bothering my nose. It's allergy season. Something's really bothering my nose. You want to go ahead and talk about, you got most of the notes. You want to go ahead and talk about what we're talking about, then I'll fill in some blanks.
Okay. What we're going to be talking about tonight is combating weight gain from quarantine. It was referencing an article that I read in the New York Post that talked about how lockdown has caused widespread weight gain, both for men and women. 47% of women and 22% of men have gained an average of 9 pounds. So the article said anywhere from 2 to 9 pounds with an average of 9 pounds. And most of it has been blamed on things like stress eating, lack of exercise, turning towards comfort foods during this period of time. But we wanted to talk about maybe some of the reasons this has happened, and then also talk about some ways that we can combat that. So that's what this Keto Conversation is going to be about.
Okay, so we've got 4 ways to combat that.
Right, it's, balancing things. It's difficult.
Yeah, and they're calling this the Quarantine 15.
And when we were discussing this, CJ didn't know what that was referencing, but if you ever went to regular college, there's a thing called the Freshman 15, and that's generally where you will gain 15 pounds in your freshman year of college because you're away from home, you're eating late at night, lots of pizza, beer, partying, that kind of thing. So just even the stress of being in a new environment sometimes will cause college students to gain at least 15 pounds. Of course, they're also eating away from home. They're eating a lot of, in the dining hall and that kind of thing. So just a lot of different factors can cause this freshman 15. So they're calling this the Quarantine 15.
Sure.
Because it's a lot of the same factors,
Sure. Yeah, so, I can speak to a lot of this.
Yes.
Just like a lot of people, like a lot of everyone can, but I can definitely speak to the stress eating,
working from home,
homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
Although I read somewhere that what a lot of us were doing wasn't really homeschooling, but you know what? That's what we're calling it.
if you tried it,
if you've been doing homeschooling for your kids and you're a homeschool pro. Yeah, okay, whatever. We're not being pure about this.
You get an A+ from me.
Yeah, we were trying to teach our kids, and so they wouldn't just be dumb as a box of rocks by the time they went back to school. So anyway, we called it homeschooling.
That's right.
And it was pretty stressful.
Well, and just good old-fashioned cabin fever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, we get spring fever anyway under the best of normal circumstances, and so this being abnormal circumstances, I think exacerbated that feeling of cabin fever, being trapped.
And then a lot of us also had financial challenges because of the COVID situation. People lost jobs. People just weren't sure.
Hours cut. All kinds of
hours
things.
cut. So there was a lot of factors that could cause you to pack on weight. And I think you may have been packed on weight even if you were eating well because of the stress piece of it. It by itself can factor in a lot to just
cortisol.
Weight gain. But anyway, let's talk about the 4 ways to combat this.
Okay, and this was an article that I read on CNN, and so it's not necessarily talking about the ketogenic lifestyle, but all the 4 ways can be applicable to this lifestyle. So the first way was to shop smart. And so the article talked about consuming fresh meat and produce if you can find it first, making that your priority. And of course on the ketogenic lifestyle, hopefully that is what you're already practicing, shopping the outer aisles of the grocery store, fresh produce, nice fatty cuts of meat if you can find them, those kinds of things, and staying away from the inner aisles where it's a lot of prepackaged foods and things high in carbohydrates and sugar.
Sure, and we understand that there were situations even with our food supply as part of this. So, but this is just a good practice And like Sarah said, this is not just keto; it's about just in general.
Right, and if you can only find frozen or canned, great.
Sure.
Preferably frozen because it's a little bit more fresh than canned. But
Yeah.
and also another point was shopping seasonally. So as we're coming into the summer months, you might find more seasonal fruits and vegetables that are still low in carb, but are a little bit easier to find, a little more fresh, more readily available.
Sure.
That's the time to be eating them.
Sure. Yeah, because there's still seasonal produce being shipped to our stores.
Right.
And
Right.
it's available.
And some farmers markets are opening
Yes.
and those kinds of things. So another point that they talked about was keeping treats out of sight, maybe, putting them away, not having them just, right out where you can reach them. So maybe that you are grabbing for healthier snacks over, the pre-prepared treats.
Yeah, and even with keto, that can be, because again, keto's now a real thing, so there's a lot of products out there for us to snack on.
Yes.
And so yeah, even with keto, you have to watch the snacking and
portion control.
I
wrote down freeze some. So that doesn't mean that you can't have keto treats or make keto treats, but maybe, freeze some so that it's a deliberate thing that, you're thawing out a treat, you're going to have a treat, and that way you can kind of, keep it under control a bit more.
Yeah, I remember somebody in the comments this weekend talking about the bonbons, how they, or even when they do fat bombs, they freeze them. They individually package them and then they serve in, and then they freeze them.
So then it's kind of deliberate, because
Right.
then you have to wait for it to kind of thaw a little bit. So you're kind of thinking about, how much do I want to eat of this? And so it is a good tip for sure.
Yeah. So
All right.
shop smart.
So the second one is manage stress, and obviously that's easier said than done. We already talked about how, all of this caused an increase in cortisol, which then usually leads to more abdominal fat and that kind of thing. And that's usually the most stubborn area and the last to come off in any, diet lifestyle plan. So it just talked about, maybe a little bit more mindfulness in living in the present, maybe trying not to watch too much news and, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and mindfulness or meditation, it's something a lot of people talk about, but it is easier said than done. But it's also something that you need to try to do on purpose. I know that when I can consistently, I guess, meditate or be mindful. So, and I guess we're talking about being in the moment, kind of stopping your thoughts as much as you can. I mean, because you can't stop your brain from thinking. That's what it does. So, but I mean, just quieting yourself and just kind of focusing on. There's all kinds of ways to do it. Maybe I'll link a book that we have. There's a book called 8-Minute Meditation Methods, and but again, it's easier said than done, and it's just something that you have to do on purpose. But it does help you in a lot of areas. I know, like if you're a person who has one of these Apple Watches, it's telling you to breathe all the time.
It's got a built-in.
Yeah, it's got a built-in thing.
Breathe.
And that's actually a form of, practicing mindfulness is just stopping for, 2 minutes, 5 minutes and breathing. And so, like I said, if you got an Apple Watch, you kind of already have a built-in system that can help you. It's just a matter of doing it. I know that my watch is always telling me to breathe, and I'm like, whatever. And I move on to the next thing. But it is something that can help us.
Well, and the weather's getting nicer. So, getting outdoors, taking some walks, looking at nature and being thankful for what you have, all of those kind of things. And of course, if you are having serious difficulties, don't be afraid to seek help from professionals. There's all kinds of ways that, don't be a hero. If you really are struggling, for sure, definitely seek out some help.
Sure.
Because that's not weakness.
And there's a lot, so there's a lot of craziness that's gone on in 2020. So not only the pandemic, but then, all the stuff with the various...
and race.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we all had a lot of stuff thrown at us, probably more this year than I can remember in a long time. But I will say, be careful what you put in your mind. If you're watching the news all the time, I don't think it's good for you. I mean, I know we need information, but the information we're getting is very selective.
Right. So maintaining balance, I guess.
Maintaining balance, but also just making sure you understand that what you're taking in is affecting you and it's affecting how you are reacting to things, not just when you're watching it, but just in life in general. So anyway, just keep that in mind. All right, what's the next thing?
The next one is sleep right. So both inadequate and also excess, which I thought was interesting, sleep are linked to weight gain and worsening blood sugar. So practicing good sleep hygiene, meaning, a dark room, cool temperatures around 65 degrees, turning off the news, your devices, a while before you sleep just can help a lot in making sure that your sleep is both adequate and restful.
Yeah, and, trying to get good sleep is, again, something that you probably need to do on purpose.
Yes.
Because again, there's a lot of stress, and then our devices. I mean, a lot of us are really just hooked on our devices. I'm always amazed, and I have to say that, yeah, I can say I'm guilty as well. But I'm always amazed how I see people walking down the street holding their devices and looking at it as they walk down the street.
I've always thought that being a cell phone walker would be a good job that you could actually tap into, where you walk behind the person and hold them so that they don't run into a fountain or a glass door or something like that while they're texting, almost like a dog walker, only it would be a person walker.
But
do you think?
I guess where I was going with that is that it's okay to put your device down.
Yes.
And to just get away from it, to get away from social media, to get away from noise, a lot of the noise, so that you can sleep. Because a lot of us, we are connected all the way until it's time to go to bed.
Right.
And then we have a hard time going to sleep.
Right.
I know there's studies that even talk about kids, if they're watching a lot of stuff up until the very minute they get ready to go to bed, that it can be difficult for them to turn that stuff off in their mind. And so we're the same way as adults. So just be mindful of that.
And we also did just get done putting up blackening film on our windows and things like that too, to help with the darkness that they were talking about, because sleeping, in a darkened room can really be helpful, especially as the days are getting longer. So if you need a little assistance in that, they also make things to help make your room dark.
Yeah. So get good sleep. All right, what's the last?
All right, the last point is move more. And so, a lot of us are sitting at our computers, especially if we're working from home, and it can be hard to differentiate between home and work, or too much Netflix and chill, whatever it's been. You're spending a lot more time being sedentary than maybe you had been before the quarantine happened.
Sure.
So
I know you were doing walks. Well, you've still been doing. You were doing.
I was
walks.
one of those essential workers. I'm off for the summer now, thankfully.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about you were doing walks
Yes.
while we were, I guess, when the quarantine or
because it was a way for me to get my children out of the house.
Stay in place.
And
things first started. You were
they
doing
basically required a walk, almost like a greyhound in the house. They needed that activity, and they still do. They basically asked to go on a walk or go to the park or do some kind of activity almost every day. So yes.
Yeah. So.
And it wouldn't have to be walking if that doesn't interest you. It can be gardening.
Sure.
But like CJ mentioned, using your fitness device or something like that, even if it's, if you're watching TV or you're sitting at your computer, set your timer. And you wouldn't have to have a smartwatch or anything. You could set your timer on your microwave or whatever, and just walk around from your desk, do some jumping jacks for 5 minutes before you go back, just so that you're getting something in between that whole sitting down all day.
Yeah, and then if you're one of these people who have been fortunate enough to move from your office now to your office at home, I say fortunate enough being a bit facetious.
You have a job.
It's fortunate, right? It's fortunate that we have jobs, and so so don't get me wrong, but I have realized that there is some kind of a price to pay with that, because I do have a hard time separating work from home, especially when work is right there in the
Right.
next
It's
room.
not a change of scenery.
Right.
It's hard to shut down.
Right. Or I just moved out to our detached garage. Well, that didn't make it any better because, yeah, I had to walk, a couple of feet to the house, but it wasn't enough time to decompress from work. So, I mean, move. It's, again, I talk about the Apple Watch. It will even tell you to move. It'll tell you that, hey, it's time to stand up.
Are you still there?
It'll tell you it's time to stand up, and it kind of keeps track of that. And I know that sometimes that can be annoying. I've been in meetings when we were at my job, and actually it would say stand up, and I've been in this long meeting, and I would stand up, and people, look at you kind of funny, but then you just say it's, my watch said stand up, and they get it. So yes, move. Take time, especially if you're in front of a screen, take time to move. Now that's in front of a screen for work, but even if you're just watching a bunch of TV, take time to get away from that stuff and move and do other things. One of the things that I've tried to do and still been doing it is learn how to jump rope. It ain't pretty right now, but it's better than it was a month ago. I got over my first injury. I made it through that. And now, I can jump not straight for, close to 30 minutes, kind of a workout. But again, that's all about me just trying to move and combat some of this other stuff. That's because I can realize that all these other things are happening because of this current situation that we're in. So these are just 4 tips that hopefully will help you. This is not specific to you.
No.
So this happened to a lot of people because of this situation that we're in and the quarantine and shelter in place. So it's not anything that's necessarily unique to you. So you shouldn't feel bad.
You didn't do anything.
Right, you didn't do anything.
It wasn't like you've misbehaved.
Yeah, you
or
didn't do anything. You didn't
right.
do anything necessarily wrong. You adjusted to a very tough situation the way that you thought you needed to adjust and did what you needed to do. So all that stuff, hopefully we're kind of coming out of this in a lot of places. And I don't know how normal will look from now on. I think some of this stuff is going to stick with us for a long time. But I think we are adjusting. But I guess the whole point where I was going there is all the stuff that happened yesterday you can change today, or you can change it tomorrow.
Or at least work on it.
Or work on it. And you don't have to be perfect. You can just make adjustments. Because that's what I've been doing. I mean, the whole jump rope thing, let's see. So last Friday, Saturday, I really sucked jumping rope. But I didn't give up. I didn't say, what, forget it. I'm not going to go jump rope on Monday or Tuesday.
Because I'm not perfect.
I just said, you know what, I'm having a bad day. I'm tired. I'm going to go home. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm just going to do what I got to do and try it again the next day. So that's what I did. Today was a good day. Forgotten all about the bad days. And that's a good strategy for you to do with a lot of things. So hopefully this message has helped somebody. If you're new here, we do these keto conversations every Wednesday. We do new recipes every Sunday. And so consider subscribing. We'd love to have you as part of our keto family. We believe that we can all help each other to be successful on the keto diet and the keto lifestyle. So we hope that you have a great rest of the week, and we will talk at you later. Bye-bye.
Peace.
What's up, YouTube? This is CJ.
And Sarah.
Sorry.
What was that?
Everything looks backwards.
It is backwards. I told you that. The monitor makes it backwards.